Why a 2,000-year-old Stoic idea predicts Bitcoin's future. When China banned Bitcoin mining in 2021, every headline declared it dead. Hash rate dropped 50% overnight. Miners fled. Western media declared Bitcoin dead for the 437th time. 6 months later, Bitcoin's network was stronger than before the ban. More decentralized, more resilient, more valuable. This isn't luck. It's a 2,000-year-old pattern the Stoics identified. The same pattern that turned Nero's persecution of Christians into fuel for a global religion. Attack, scatter, grow stronger. It's called antifragility, and it's why Bitcoin's biggest threat isn't a ban. It's if attacks ever stop coming. Marcus Aurelius watched the Antonine Plague kill 5 million Romans. His Stoic philosophy didn't teach him to avoid suffering, it taught him something more radical. The impediment to action advances action, he wrote. What stands in the way becomes the way. Not optimism, not resilience, something stranger. Nassim Taleb, a former derivatives trader turned philosopher, codified this in 2012. He noticed 3 categories everything falls into. Fragile things break under stress. A wine glass, an over-leveraged bank. Robust things resist stress. A rock, gold in a vault. But there's a 3rd category most people miss. Antifragile things gain from disorder. Your immune system needs exposure to pathogens to develop. Muscles require stress to grow. And Bitcoin doesn't just survive attacks, it evolves because of them. Bitcoin is the first engineered antifragile system in history. But to work, it follows 3 brutal rules the Stoics would recognize instantly. Rule 1. Skin in the game. Antifragile systems require participants to bear consequences. Look at what happened to the Turkish lira in 2021. President Erdogan fired 3 central bank governors in 2 years for disagreeing with him. The lira imploded, 44% gone in 12 months. Why? Because it was built on control, on someone at the top deciding what money should be worth. When that person made bad decisions, the entire system fragmented. There was no immune response, just catastrophic failure. When Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2008, executives walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars. Taxpayers absorbed the losses. No learning occurred because pain and decision-making were separated. Bitcoin forces alignment. If you hold it and the network fails, you lose, period. This creates an army of participants actively working to strengthen the system because their interests are perfectly aligned with its survival. Rule 2. Decentralized decision-making. If every scraped knee had to get permission from headquarters to form a scab, you'd bleed out. Bitcoin's immune system is decentralized. In 2013, Mt. Gox handled 70% of all Bitcoin transactions. When it collapsed and 850,000 Bitcoin vanished, everyone predicted the end. So what happened? Did Bitcoin die, or did it learn? Dozens of new exchanges emerged. Security practices evolved. Users learned to control their own keys. The phrase, "not your keys, not your coins," became doctrine. The attack didn't kill Bitcoin. It made centralized exchanges toxic and pushed the system toward its anti-fragile ideal. When one mining pool grows too powerful, miners voluntarily leave to preserve decentralization. Not because they're altruistic, but because concentration threatens their investment. Self-interest produces anti-fragile architecture. Or take the block size wars of 2017. Bitcoin's community nearly split apart. The debate raged for 3 years. But here's what nobody predicted. That very conflict stress-tested Bitcoin's governance. It proved no single entity could hijack the protocol. Every corporate board fears a hostile takeover. Bitcoin proved it's immune. Rule 3. Optionality over planning. The Maginot Line was France's masterpiece. Billions spent on the perfect defense against German invasion. Germany went around it in 6 weeks. Rigid plans are fragile. Bitcoin doesn't have a 5-year roadmap because roadmaps assume you know the future. Instead, it has optionality, an open protocol that lets thousands of developers experiment. Most fail. A few succeed spectacularly, and the system absorbs only what works. This is why Bitcoin's biggest threat isn't a regulation or competition. It's acceptance without struggle, because antifragility requires stressors. The immune system that never encounters pathogens becomes hypersensitive. The person who never lifts weights becomes weak, and the protocol that never faces adversity never develops the antibodies to survive long-term. El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender in 2021. Adoption was forced, not earned. Citizens received government Bitcoin wallets. The state guaranteed losses, and usage rates? They collapsed within months. Why? No skin in the game, no organic discovery, no genuine need. When incentives disappeared, so did adoption. Compare that to Nigeria, where the government banned cryptocurrency trading in 2021. Peer-to-peer Bitcoin volume exploded to the highest per capita in the world. People needed it to preserve wealth against 18% inflation, to receive remittances, to access the global economy. Every obstacle the government created taught users to be more sophisticated, more determined, more invested. That's antifragility in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote the Meditations not as a published philosophy, but as private notes, reminders to himself during Rome's darkest years. That's what you're watching right now. Bitcoin's private meditations, its survival log. So the next time you see a headline declaring Bitcoin dead, and you will, remember Nero, remember China, remember, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Chaos isn't Bitcoin's enemy. Chaos is its fuel.